Chương trình này được bảo trợ bởi
Family Joy, tổ ấm y tế của mọi gia đình, 714 898 0765.
Hi, welcome to the OC Health and Education Show on Little Saigon TV. I'm your host, Julie Yip. To us, OC stands for community because we believe that our community is strongest when we come together. We thank you for joining us each Tuesday evening on channel 56.10 at 7 p.m. and on Wednesday morning. This is a bilingual English and Vietnamese program dedicated to educating, empowering, and inspiring our community. We hope to inspire you today to talk about a plant-based diet and the health benefits. So we have invited Dr. Melissa Mondala to the show. Julie kính chào quý vị khán giả của Little Saigon TV trong chương trình Kiến Thức Y Khoa, Gia Đình và Xã hội. Hôm nay trong chương trình Julie sẽ nói về plant-based diet, đó là thực vật, là the benefits of eating a plant-based diet, and thêm nữa là tại sao mình phải thay đổi cái cách mình ăn uống để cho có sức khỏe hơn. Hôm nay trong chương trình Kiến Thức Y Khoa, Gia Đình và Xã hội, Julie mời được bác sĩ Melissa Mondala to the show. Welcome to the show, Dr. Melissa.
Thank you so much, Julie, for having me. Your story is so inspirational. I'm so glad to be here with LSTV and Orange County and the community here. I'm happy to be here.
I'm so happy to finally get you on the show.
Yes.
I know scheduling has been so difficult, and you know you have such a busy schedule. But thank you for making the time to come today to talk about the benefits of having a plant-based diet. Can you tell me a little bit about your background and how you get to this point in your career?
Sure, yes. So my heritage is Filipina. So I'm Filipino American, and you know, when it comes to Filipino Americans, most of the foods are not plant-based. They are very animal heavy, dairy heavy, and when you think about, I am a physician, not everyone goes and takes that journey because it is challenging, it's time consuming, and honestly there are many ways to keep yourself happy. But I chose to be a physician because really, in a sense, I really value health, wellness, and mental health.
Well, thank you so much. I know your title is an integrative plant-based physician. So thank you so much for sharing your background and the reason why you're doing this. Thưa quý vị khán giả của Little Saigon TV, trong chương trình Kiến Thức Y Khoa, Gia Đình và Xã hội, hôm nay Julie nói chuyện với Dr. Melissa Mondala. Dr. Melissa Mondala là một người Filipino, là một người Phi, nói về cái quyền lợi để cho mình ăn mấy món thực vật. You know, Dr. Melissa, you know, when we talk about plant-based and being a physician, how does that come together?
Yeah, no, great question. You know, when you think about health, most of the time people think it's medications first and maybe procedures and seeing your doctor, but really it happens in the home. Right when you're with your family or when you're going grocery shopping, you have a decision and a choice to make to actually start to benefit your gut health. So you have opportunities to give yourself healthy plants through antioxidants and healthy minerals and vitamins to really build the gut health and also the brain health. And it's truly a big, big passion of mine because a lot of the Asian communities, sometimes we have our natural things we do at home already. We have home remedies. We know that there's importance of health, but we don't necessarily know how to sort through it in a very safe way. But also, in a sense, we don't know the blend of when it's how to take our medications and will it interact with the supplements or the home foods that we eat. So I just love to blend it together because it's really, food is the center of our culture and it's an exciting thing to eat.
I really love what you said, that basically your food is the medicine.
Yeah.
Right? Because when we talk about medicine, when we talk about Western medicine, we always talk about pills and all of these things. But when we have a plant-based focus, we're actually doing a lot of preventative. You mentioned antioxidants and all those important aspects of it. So I think it's really a big paradigm shift for our community, and especially our Asian Pacific Islander community to do that too. Thưa quý vị khán giả, hôm nay Julie có đặt một câu hỏi về tại sao mình phải ăn mấy cái món thực vật, nó có quyền lợi cái gì. Dr. Melissa nói đó là mọi cái món mà mình ăn mà vegetarian hay plant-based đó là giống như cái thuốc để cho nó thực dưỡng cho cái cơ thể của mình. Nhiều lúc mình thấy thuốc là mình nói là mẹ uống cái viên thuốc, mà thiệt ra cái món ăn của mình, cái cách mình đã sống, cái bằng lifestyle sẽ ảnh hưởng cái sức khỏe tâm thần của mình, sức khỏe cơ thể của mình với rất nhiều cái benefit về văn văn người cái đó. Dr. Melissa, I know you mentioned the importance of plant-based, but I want to know how do you become a physician, but then also going to that specialty of plant-based? Because I don't hear too many doctors going that route.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I would say if we go back in time, if I look around me and really looking at just my family and my even my grandparents, how they actually had diabetes. My grandfather died at an early age in his 50s from diabetes because of gangrene and complications. And they didn't not only have access to healthcare, but they didn't know that all that soda, all those high sugary foods was actually the big reason why they were having diabetes. Also, all those animal products are causing the inflammation. So I saw it in my family members, how they were just getting a lot of sicker and sicker, and then also in my own health. And I think when it comes to gut health and mental health, they're so deeply connected. And so I also had my own bouts of irritable bowel syndrome. But when it comes to understanding the physician, plant-based, like to answer your question, I would say I also studied in Loma Linda,
yes.
And that's where I was, I would say, first introduced to it.
Well, I mean, that's a connection you and I have,
yeah,
right?
Exactly, you know what I'm
so
talking about.
I went to Loma Linda in the 90s, and that was my introduction to, the Seventh-day Adventist community. And, for us, when my introduction to plant-based diet was from my family being in a Buddhist household.
Right.
And so a lot of times, once a month, our family would be vegetarian when they do prayers. And when I went to Loma Linda University, I learned more about it. So I treat it as more of a culture. And I also learned that the fact that it's part of what's called the blue zone.
Yes.
That people in Loma Linda and certain other parts of Greece and Italy, they live longer because they're plant-based, and that they're healthier, and there's, I think, 30% reduced risk of cancer.
Exactly.
So there's so many benefits in those aspects.
Yes, and it's so important because 80% of our chronic diseases are linked to our lifestyle, and 40% of are linked to cancer. So we have to be very mindful of what we eat.
Okay. Dr. Melissa có chia sẻ với mình đó là 80% của nhiều cái bệnh ảnh hưởng về cái cách mình sống, đó cái bằng cái lifestyle, mà cũng ảnh hưởng về cái cách mình ăn uống. Dr. Melissa có chia sẻ trong gia đình của Melissa là ông nội hay ông ngoại đó có bị tiểu đường and bị gangrene, mà chỉ nào uống nước ngọt nhiều và ăn nhiều chất thịt trong cơ thể của mình, nó sẽ có nhiều cái hại. Mà điều mình không phải là nói là không có ăn thịt không, mà tại mình phải thấy là sao nó có cái quyền lợi về đó. Dr. Melissa là một người bác sĩ, mà thêm nữa là một bác sĩ mà sống trong cái Seventh-day Adventist community, và hiểu được cái quan trọng về cái quyền lợi đó. Julie có nói đó là một cái phenomenon, nó kêu là cái blue, the blue zone. Yeah, là cái blue zone đó là một cái thành phố giống như Loma Linda, ở Greece, ở Italy, là có rất nhiều người sống lâu, 90 tuổi, cả 100 tuổi, với chừng nào có cái ăn cái món thực vật đó, là nó giảm về cái cancer là về 30%. So Julie thấy rất cái quyền lợi về đó. Dr. Melissa, I want to say so much in just the first part of it.
Yes, I know. We can talk for hours.
I'm getting so excited to share with the community. But what is that one message that you want to share with the audience for them to consider not just going plant-based, but increasing their plant intake?
Yes,
how do you convince people
absolutely.
to change that?
Yeah, absolutely. I say you already look at what you're eating. Most of our dishes already have fruits and vegetables, and if you can just double it and add that to your plate, it is wonderful. Sometimes we're obsessed with meats, but if you just put that in vegetables, fruits, and beans, nuts, and seeds, you will be satisfied, and you actually feel full, and you don't necessarily have to load up on other things that are pro-inflammatory. So in the essence, look at what you enjoy, add to it, and then taste the rainbow. Add different colors, different varieties, because if you have more variety, then your gut health will really appreciate it. That means good bowel movements, if you know what I'm talking about.
Yes. I love what you said, taste the rainbow.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of times when we eat processed food, you even know what the origin is.
Yeah, exactly.
And then even the colors, there's added coloring.
Yes.
But what I really love about what you mentioned is that doubling up the natural colors already.
Yeah.
So thank you, Dr. Mondala. After the commercial break, we'll definitely talk a lot more about some of the programs that you're doing to help the community.
Yes, thank you so much.
Julie cảm ơn quý vị khán giả của Little Saigon TV. Sau vòng quảng cáo, chúng tôi sẽ tiếp tục nói thêm với Dr. Melissa về plant-based diet, về làm sao mình phải nên ăn mấy cái món mà thực vật. Cảm ơn quý vị khán giả của Little Saigon TV.
Chương trình này được bảo trợ bởi
Family Joy, tổ ấm y tế của mọi gia đình, 714 898 0765.
Hi, welcome back to the OC Health and Education Show. I have Dr. Melissa today to talk about the importance of plant-based diet and why we feel like we need to do this for our gut. Can you tell us where you work and how we can get a hold of you, Dr. Melissa?
Yes, thank you so much. So I'm currently in California, Orange County to be specific, and then Newport Beach is the city that I work in. But I do take telemedicine, so I love technology. It's actually been on our side where we see patients throughout the US and internationally. I'm licensed in California and Florida and many more states to come. And I also work with my husband as well, who's a rheumatologist.
What are all the license and credentials you have? I know it's extensive. I can't remember all of those.
Yes. Thank you. I can share them with you. So basically, first I went to get my undergraduate in psychology, and then I really loved studying the doctor-patient relationship. So then I went into medical school and studied family medicine at Loma Linda, and then essentially I went to get a lifestyle medicine fellowship and a primary care psychiatry fellowship. And I have other nice, I would say, projects I'm working on the side. I would say medicine is always changing. We have to be up to date, so we always have to stay up to date with research and see how that changes.
So you have a background in psychology, psychiatry, and just general health?
General health, definitely.
Wow.
So I love every system of the body. It's all very deeply connected.
And I love the part that where you're connecting the mental health and the mental wellness in all that you do.
Yes, thank you.
Thưa quý vị khán giả, hôm nay Dr. Melissa chia sẻ với mình là Dr. Melissa có rất nhiều cái certification, cái training về tâm lý, về cũng và psychiatry, về để cho mình uống thuốc để cho đỡ cái sức khỏe. Mà quan trọng nhất là làm sao là cái bác sĩ để cho chú ý về để cho mình ăn mấy cái món plant-based diet, nó rất là cho có nhiều cái sức khỏe. Dr. Melissa, when we talk about the service that you provide in the community, what type of patients come to you to learn more about what you do?
Sure, yes. So my clinic is called Dr. Lifestyle Clinic, and when I say what do I serve, I say everything. So diabetes, hypertension, high cholesterol, heart disease, lung disease. A lot of people suffer even from depression, anxiety, or I would say, most of the time the primary care doctor is the first doctor you see. So I like to spend a whole hour with my patients because there's so much that we can cover, and I'm sure there's tons of questions, and half the battle is just listening and knowing how to understand the ins and outs and the puzzle pieces, because that's where the healing begins.
So a lot of patients are coming to you to be you being the primary physician, but in addition to that, you do a thorough consultation and you have that specialty of making sure that you treat from dietary instead of just going pharmacological right away.
Exactly. So that lifestyle is the first line treatment. So lifestyle medicine is nutrition, exercise, sleep, emotional well-being, and stress management, and avoiding toxins and substances. And so I would say together is the foundation for all chronic diseases.
Wow. So I love that you're not even just going straight for medicine. You're doing lifestyle as a first line of defense.
Yeah, it's amazing.
That's such a new concept for me too. Because when I'm ill, I go to my doctor. The first thing they say, "Hey, Julie, here's a prescription. Where's your pharmacy?"
Exactly.
But when we're going to a lifestyle doctor, the approach of treatment is so different.
Right.
Wow. I'm learning so much today. I know I met you before. We talked to them, but I've never had myself a lifestyle doctor. Now I got to learn about finding one too, and going to you maybe.
Yeah, thank you. It'd be an honor.
Thưa quý vị khán giả, cái lifestyle doctor là một cái bác sĩ là không phải là một, trước nhất là primary care physician, là bác sĩ Melissa theo dõi bệnh nhân khi nào có bị tiểu đường, bị bị lung disease hay bị tim, rất nhiều cái bệnh mà cái treatment, cái cách mà bác sĩ chữa trị á, là không phải là cho thuốc liền. Bác sĩ nói là lifestyle change là ảnh hưởng về cái cách mình ăn uống, mình có ngủ được không, mình có tập thể thao, phải thay đổi cái cách mình sống mỗi ngày. Then phải chú ý về sức khỏe tâm thần của bệnh nhân, sau đó mới tính về có cần uống thuốc hay không. Thì Julie thấy đó, cái lifestyle doctor rất là đặc biệt. Tại nhiều lúc mình đi bác sĩ cho toa mình phải đi pharmacy, mình phải đi lấy thuốc mình uống. Mà bác sĩ mà Melissa nói đó là trước khi mình uống thuốc có rất nhiều cái phương pháp mình làm để cho mình để cho mình có cái sức khỏe. Dr. Melissa, I love having you on my show to learn more about, the service that you're able to provide, because, what you provide is not the traditional medicine.
Yeah, exactly.
You're still using all the evidence-based approach,
definitely.
but it's not what I'm used to
right,
in the Western world.
Yeah.
Is there a combination of Eastern combination and influence in this too?
Yes, so when I say integrative medicine too, on top of lifestyle, so of course there's a role for even acupuncture and herbs and then supplements. And I'm not a physician who says that's dangerous, never do that. I look at it and I appreciate it, and we see how we can safely implement it into lifestyle changes and also with finding the proper medications. So most of the time patients come to me and it's almost too late, or when I say too late is they have high sugars, high blood pressure, and in their minds they think it's too late. But it's never too late to incorporate lifestyle. And I often see a reversal of these chronic conditions, and that's when I get excited, when I can take away medications.
So how do you balance medicine, the pharmacological treatment, and lifestyle? Because I know if someone comes to you and they're so severe, right? So we obviously have to do the pharmacological treatment.
Definitely.
But how do you balance that, and how do you essentially wean off? Because I know with my own personal journey with mental health, anxiety, depression, I had to go pharmacological to kind of find that balance and kind of that just the steady footing first.
Yes,
And
exactly.
once I got that, I changed I would exercise, I would go hiking,
Yeah.
I swam,
Yes.
I did go plant-based.
Yeah.
I went to part of the Plum Village tradition,
Awesome.
which I did meditation for a month, and I went vegetarian for a month, and that really cleansed my body and my mind, and that eventually got to me weaning off from needs of those depression medication, for example. But I still feel like periods of needs for anxiety meds or something like that. But I think it's just that balance. Because sometimes, when you go to a psychiatrist and you have this background, they might say, well, you take this medication is something you have to constantly take. But you and I, kind of from a personal experience, we understand that lifestyle changes can help you essentially replace those medication that gives you natural, neurotransmitters.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. You said it right.
So can you explain it to the audience so they can understand that importance from a scientific point? I know from a personal experience point.
Yeah, definitely. So when it comes to medications, obviously they have a role. They have a role in the ER, in the hospital, even in the clinic, to just stabilize the mood, stabilize the sugar and blood pressure, because we don't want the life-threatening conditions such as high blood pressure and going towards a stroke, or diabetes, having that going into actually heart disease.
So the first line of defense, when it's very severe, we do need to get the medicine to stabilize.
Yes, to stabilize.
So once stability is there, that's when we can introduce other approaches of treatment.
Exactly, exactly. But I always say do both together. They're both very important. And I have a special training to say, if you're going to be doing lifestyle, actually we only maybe need half the dose. And I think that's the beauty of it, knowing how to taper up and down, balance it, because it depends how often are you going to be eating fruits and vegetables, or how often are you going to be exercising, because 30 minutes of exercise is equivalent to antidepressant medication.
Wow.
And then when you are cutting down on animal products and dairy products, you are less acidic, and that helps GERD, and also that helps conditions like gout and high blood pressure. So it's so important to kind of see, I look at every detail of your day, and that's how I can make an assessment.
Well, I love the way you are a diagnostician. It's just not looking at, the labs. but you're looking at how someone is living and sleeping and working about their day.
Exactly.
Thank you so much, Doctor. Thưa quý vị khán giả của Little Saigon TV, hôm nay Julie có thời gian nói chuyện với Dr. Melissa. Dr. Melissa là một người integrative plant-based physician. Mà cái chữ đó là rất là hơi khó hiểu, mà thiệt ra đó là cái bác sĩ mà chuyên môn giúp cho quý vị để thay đổi cái cách mình sống. Không phải là chú ý về uống thuốc lúc mà mình bệnh, mà làm sao mình thay đổi cái cách mình sống với ăn uống, với ngủ để cho cái sức khỏe tâm thần với sức khỏe cơ thể của mình. Trước nhất bác sĩ nói đó là một cái câu rất là đặc biệt đó, là phần đầu khi nào bệnh nhân tới gặp bác sĩ, for example, khi nào bệnh nhân bị diabetes hay bị bệnh tâm thần hay gì đó, phải uống thuốc để cho được cái stabilize. Lúc mà stabilize rồi đó thì bác sĩ nói là phải làm hai cái việc, là phải thay đổi cái lifestyle của mình với vẫn uống thuốc chung. Julie thấy bữa nay Julie có rất cái thời gian học hiểu nhiều. Bác sĩ nói đó là một cái ví dụ đó là khi nào mình tập thể thao 30 phút thì cái depression của mình nó có thể đi xuống, thì mình không có cần uống nhiều cái thuốc, thì cái độ thuốc cũng có được thay đổi nữa. Sau phần quảng cáo, Julie sẽ tiếp tục nói chuyện với Dr. Melissa, một người bác sĩ là integrative plant-based diet. Cảm ơn quý vị khán giả của Little Saigon TV.
Chương trình này được bảo trợ bởi
Family Joy, tổ ấm y tế của mọi gia đình, 714 898 0765.
Hi, welcome back to the OC Health and Education Show on Little Saigon TV. Today on our show we have Dr. Melissa Mondala, the lifestyle doctor. I would like to call her the lifestyle coach. It is a topic that I'm so excited to talk about because that's helped me so much in my physical health and my mental health. Hôm nay Julie có thời gian nói chuyện với Dr. Melissa. Lifestyle change là một cái gì nó rất ảnh hưởng Julie về sức khỏe tâm thần của Julie với sức khỏe của mình để cho làm nhiều việc trong cộng đồng Việt Nam. I was just saying that it's helped me so much on my mental wellness, but also increase my ability to serve the community.
Absolutely.
I'm so passionate about what I do in the community,
Yeah.
but the problem is I kind of burn out.
Yeah.
Because I get started and I don't know how to stop.
Yeah.
But I think when I did the lifestyle change and just learning how to breathe again.
Yeah. Let's do it together.
That really changed everything.
Right.
I wake up every morning now and I take a deep breath.
Yeah.
And I remind myself and kind of just reassess, am I well today?
Yeah.
And I am well enough to serve.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think I've gotten a little bit kinder to myself.
Yeah.
And when I'm not well, I don't mind calling in sick. I'm the boss.
Yeah,
But I feel
right.
so guilty.
Right.
But I think since I've learned about my lifestyle and just reassessing, it's really changed my life.
Yeah.
Dr. Melissa, I want to ask you a question.
Sure.
There's so many misperception about going plant-based.
Yeah.
Because one of the things my friend always says, oh, when I go vegetarian or when I go plant-based, I get hungry so quickly.
Yeah.
Can you address that first issue?
Yeah, sure. I can totally see that happening and even relate when I was first transitioning, right? Or like, oh, I miss my meat sweats, meaning like, oh, the meat foods kind of just help you. It makes you feel comforted, but then you feel like a big crash at the end. And that's kind of when we're looking sometimes for sugary foods, salty foods, processed foods, we have this high and we think that's what we need every time to fill our guts. But literally with nutrition, when it comes from plants, it's actually nice and stable. And instead of being hyperstimulated from foods, we actually can live in this nice, happy medium. And that really takes our health into a healthy way of living, and so that we don't not only have the highs and lows, but actually we're getting all the fiber we need. And that's what actually stabilizes our sugar and blood pressure. So fiber is I would say, the secret ingredient of plant-based eating. And really, you don't have to be scared of plants because some people think I have to give up my fish and seafood and meats. Actually, it's not necessarily about giving up. It's actually substituting. And I love when, tofu, tofu is actually in a lot of things, bean curd in Asian dishes. And then if you wanted a healthy substitute, I would say start with fish too. If you can't actually stay away yet from the other types of heavy meats. But
I know in the Vietnamese community, we substitute a lot of times with mushrooms.
yeah, I love mushrooms.
Or even jackfruit.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
So when you cook it, it has that same fibrous texture.
Right.
And when you put the certain flavors in, it keeps the flavor.
Yeah.
And that's what I wanted to share with the audience, that a lot of times people say, oh, when you eat, it's all salads. But it's really not just all salads.
Yeah.
It's just how you prepare it. And I think what I learned in when I went more plant-based was that it's the flavor you put in
Exactly, it's how you spice it.
the spices
Yes.
that really changes it.
Right.
Thank
all
you
the
so much.
herbs.
Thưa quý vị khán giả, hôm nay Julie có hỏi về bác sĩ về mọi cái suy nghĩ sai về mình ăn chay hay mình ăn plant based, mấy cái món thực vật. Đó là nhiều mình nói là trên là mình ăn chay hay mình ăn mấy cái món thực vật nó dễ, nó mau đói, mà bác sĩ nói đó là lý do mình nghĩ mình đói đó là cái body của mình á, cái cơ thể của mình nó thèm cái món mặn hay cái món processed food hay mấy cái món thịt, mà thiệt ra mình ăn mấy cái món đây là mình ăn mình thấy mình có sức, mà điều mình bị cái crash thì mà điều lúc mà mình ăn mấy cái plant based food, cái fiber giống như rau cỏ trái cây, nó làm cho mình có nhiều sức hơn, mà bác sĩ nói là nó more stable, thì nó không có phải đi lên nhiều sức mà mình mất hết sức, mà thiệt nên nó giữ cái level nó rất là sức khỏe cho quý vị. You know, I love that for us, we're just reminding people that plant-based food is not just a bowl of salad.
Right, absolutely.
Right? Because I know sometimes when my friends say they want to go, when they want to lose weight, they eat salad.
Yeah.
But they pour so much salad dressing. And it kind of beats the purpose.
Exactly.
So what is your recommendation on, because I know in one of your description, it says recipe inventor as one of your titles.
I love Asianizing, veganizing food because it's just so, when you think about the substitutes, there's so much you can do. With adding the original spices, you can still have I would say, the cooked veggies. You don't have to eat a salad every day. And I say darker pigmentation is better, and having, for example, when you say mushrooms, there's so many kinds of mushrooms, right? There's so many kinds, and there's so many, you can roast it, you can use your air fryer, you can make it crispy still. You don't have to add so much oil on it. You can use avocado oil or flaxseed oil, and these things help your blood pressure as well. And when you talk about plant-based, I also want to say it gives you energy. That's the benefit of it too. And I love how when we think about plant-based eating, it's not something that depletes you. People think they're missing out. Actually, they're actually extending their life. They're able to have more days of their life, and that's the gift that we can get from plants.
See, I'm always making excuses why I'm not more plant-based because I always say my husband does all the cooking. He's always meats and potato, but I was sharing with you during the commercial break that I caught him watching on his Netflix The Game Changer.
I love that moment.
And it's a documentary on Netflix, and it's produced by Jackie Chan, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and James Cameron.
Exactly.
And I didn't know that Arnold Schwarzenegger was a plant-based person now. And for me to watch that, because normally I go on Netflix, I go to my, what my daughter calls my trash television. But then one day I just wanted to see what my husband was watching. And I watched that episode. And I think he can be convinced now.
Yeah, because it does make you strong, right? People think that, meat makes you strong. It's actually almost the opposite. You don't need that. You actually,
what's the science behind that?
So, with meats and everything, it has something called TMAO, and that's a pro-inflammatory ingredient that goes into your gut and goes to your liver and goes through all the arteries, and that's actually what causes disease. But with meat, yes, they have protein, but plants have all the essential protein that you need.
It's the dark leafy greens, right?
Yes, and all plant-based, I would say, has the protein.
Okay, so one thing that you're mentioning is that substitute.
Yes.
That's so important.
Yes.
Because, when we talk about diseases, a lot of times people don't understand what it comes from.
Yeah.
But what you're sharing with us is the anti-inflammatory aspect of it.
Exactly.
That causes the heart diseases and all these other diseases and gut diseases.
Right.
That makes you a little bit tired.
Right.
So, because I know, when we read the science behind it, that a lot of these plant-based diet, it actually gives you more endurance
Yes.
and more stamina.
Yeah.
And I was surprised because, like I said, I thought plant-based just makes you more hungry.
Yeah, exactly. It's all the antioxidants that feeds the whole body, even the brain, where you can feel the sense of energy coming in. And then, of course, muscles build by exercise. I think we often forget that exercise is a huge piece that we need to incorporate in our day-to-day.
So the two things I need to learn today is focusing on the antioxidant, which feeds your body, and reducing or getting rid of the the inflammatory processes, which is the meat and the processed food.
Right, those are the pro-inflammatory components.
Got it. Well, thank you so much, doctor, for teaching me this. I think as a speech therapist, we specialize in the dietary part of it, kind of for kids with autism who are picky eater. The research shows that there's about even up to like 50% or 70% of kids with autism having gut issues, and that about many of them have repetitive behavior because of those issues. You know, so we definitely know in the autism world too that diet is so important. But I think a lot of families have such a struggle because it's so persistent, and so years on it is a little bit harder for them to change right away. But we can do it a little bit at a time.
Yeah, one step at a time.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, doctor, for educating us all and me today. Thưa quý vị khán giả, hôm nay Julie có thời gian nói chuyện với Dr. Melissa Mondala. Sau phần quảng cáo, Julie sẽ tiếp tục nói chuyện với Dr. Melissa Mondala, là một integrative plant-based physician. Cảm ơn quý vị khán giả của Little Saigon TV.
Chương trình này được bảo trợ bởi
Family Joy, tổ ấm y tế của mọi gia đình. 714 898 0765.
Hi, welcome back to the OC Health and Education Show on Little Saigon TV. As you know, today we're talking about the importance of lifestyle changes and focusing on a plant-based diet. You know, for this new year, for every new year, I always try to increase my plant intake because I'm not a vegetarian, but I definitely eat a lot more vegetable. My kids joke around and they always like, "Oh, Mom, you eat like a rabbit." Or they call it rabbit food.
I've gotten
but
that.
I definitely love doing because it just makes me feel so healthy and I feel so much more energized. So thank you so much, doctor. What is your New Year resolution? You're already plant-based, so that's easy for you.
Well, Happy New Year to you and Lunar, and it's the year of the tiger. And to me, it's just being more mindful and present. Yes, I do plant-based eating, and I love to exercise and go hiking, and actually love sleeping 8 hours. It's how I feel myself. I don't want to get grumpy, and so for me, I just want to be mindful. Really, what you said, self-care, self-love, self-compassion, and that's something we have to be intentional about every single day. And so that's I would say, for the love for myself, but even women, I think we need that a lot, to make that time on a daily, if not weekly basis.
Yeah, and I think a lot of us who are in the medical field, for example, we're so used to helping others. But sometimes we forget about our own personal care. So that's a great resolution, and it's a great reminder for all of us to be kinder to ourselves.
Exactly. And it can be simple, like massages, spa time, sun, and just taking a nice, gentle walk.
And taking that 8 hours sleep that we really need to recharge.
Exactly. Yep.
Thưa quý vị khán giả, hôm nay là mình cũng vẫn nói về cái New Year resolution. Tại Julie nói là mỗi năm Julie muốn ráng ăn nhiều mấy cái thực vật nhiều hơn, là tại mình thấy là mình có nhiều cái sức khỏe về tâm thần của mình, với có làm rất nhiều việc trong cộng đồng. Julie hỏi bác sĩ Melissa, what is her resolution? Bác sĩ nói là a lot of self-care. Tại phải ngủ đúng 8 tiếng để cho mình có cái sức khỏe hơn, mà thiệt ra đó là mình phải nghỉ chút, mà không phải là làm không, mà cũng phải nghĩ làm đó việc đó. Trước phần quảng cáo, Julie có hỏi về bác sĩ Melissa về cái quan trọng để cho mình ăn cái plant-based diet, mà bác sĩ nói đó là hai cái gì mà phải chú ý đó, là một phần đó là antioxidant. Chừng nào mình ăn mấy cái món thực vật đó là nó có cái antioxidant, nó tốt cho bộ não của mình với cái cơ thể của mình. Mà thêm nữa, chừng nào mình không có ăn thịt hay mình giảm cái món thịt đó, thì nó reduce cái inflammatory disease, nó làm cho nhiều cái bệnh về bị tiêm, về vân nhiều cái bệnh khác nữa. Thì mình thấy đó là rất là quan trọng để cho nói về cái thông tin đây. Doctor, I'm so excited to talk about this and to remind our community that health is not about just taking medication. It's just not responding to our body falling apart,
Right.
but really just changing things so we can prevent ourselves from taking medication, or if
Exactly.
we still have to take the medication, it's at a lower dose.
Yeah.
So for you, can you tell us about some of the science or the statistics behind the disease and what we need to learn about?
Yeah, no, thank you so much. And for our Asian community, I just want to remind ourselves that it's actually very, very prevalent. A lot of patients wait and go to the doctor too late. So it's 40% of the patients in the Asian community have diabetes.
40%?
40%. And
wow.
Yeah, and that's really high.
Is that attributed to eating rice or white rice, or what is it attributed to, doctor?
Yeah, usually it's because of a lot of the white rice, the white, even the rice and the noodles, right? We're always eating noodles, and I love noodles, but there's buckwheat noodles and other sweet potato noodles instead. So we just have to be mindful. Sometimes we literally half our plate is rice, and these traditions are actually started at a very young age. So if we take a step back and introduce foods at a young age, so that people, little ones, can get used to eating new plant-based foods, they will eventually get used to it.
I think as much as we understand the importance of whole grains and those importance of that, oftentimes when we go to the supermarket, unfortunately we don't have a lot of those options.
That's right.
I know that when we buy noodles, there's there's these rice noodles, so it's all rice based or egg based and things like that. Right. I know in my family, if there's no white rice and you ask my dad, did you eat? He would say no. And we made something else for him.
Right.
And how do we convince or change the mindset of the minority API community to change out, replace or substitute some of these ingredients?
Yeah, I would say, just experience food. Try in ordering other dishes when you go to a restaurant. Add some with plants. Go and find maybe some plant-based friendly restaurants. Cook something different and just understand you can taste it, enjoy it, but also tie it into health, because we want to be there for our family members. We want to see our kids grow up and go down the aisle. We want to see them successful, and we want to be able to pass on healthy traditions and not wait too long, because we know there's high incidence of GERD, reflux, there's high incidence of hepatitis, autoimmune disease, arthritis, gout, and we want to be able to fight those and recognize those early, because we want to be around.
Yes, yes. So having the lifestyle changes can help address some of those issues that are related to our community.
Exactly.
Thank you. Thưa quý vị khán giả, hôm nay Julie có thời gian nói chuyện với Dr. Melissa Mondala. Dr. Melissa nói đó là lúc mà mình ăn cái plant-based diet rất cái nhiều quyền lợi trong cái API community, cái người Á Đông á, 40% mỗi người cũng bị tiểu đường. Thì mình thấy đó là rất là quan trọng cho mình thay đổi cái cách mình ăn. Julie biết đó là người Việt Nam của mình luôn luôn ăn cơm trắng, mà cái cơm trắng đó nó cũng có nhiều cái hại. Thì bác sĩ có nói là cho nên mình replace với cái whole grain, mình ăn gạo lứt hoặc cái brown rice thì nó khỏe hơn. Mà điều mình biết, Julie cũng biết đó là mình đi chợ quán á, thì nó cũng không có cái món mà mình mua được, thì mình cũng phải chú ý làm sao để cho mình ăn nhiều cái món thực vật hơn mà không có phải processed food nhiều. Mình thấy đó là hy vọng nó khỏe hơn. Dr. Melissa, I appreciate you for coming on to the show. If the community wants to reach out to you, what's the best way? Do you have a website? Do you have social media handles that they can follow?
Thank you. So you can find me at drlifestyle.org. That's my clinic website. As I said earlier, you can see me internationally or nationally, or come to my office. And then I'm on social media, melissamondala.md, and then I also have my personal website, melissamondalamd.com. So I love to share what I do on a day-to-day basis.
I appreciate you so much. I know you taught me so much about the science behind that, but one thing I learned mostly today was that lifestyle is a first line of defense, not just pharmacological and medicine.
Exactly.
And I know I practice it overall too, but I think it's just a good reminder for us that there are things that we can do to help ourselves get healthier, and also just replacing and substituting food. What is that one message you would like to say to our elders or our Asian community who eat a lot of rice?
Yes, yes. And I would say, food is important, right? We want to nourish ourselves. We don't want to lose weight. We don't want to lose our hair and find that we don't have ourselves. But I would say when it comes to white rice, it's not everything. We can have brown rice, quinoa. We can have beans, nuts and seeds, fruits and vegetables. When we have a balanced diet, we're able to live healthy, live long, and also minimize disease and minimize medications.
Well, thank you so much. I know what it helped in my family was getting my kids to reduce their rice intake.
Yeah.
So they're not going to give it up.
Right.
Every time I make brown rice, they get really mad at me, and they'll just eat less. But then, when they do have white rice, I just said, no, you can just eat more of the food.
Right.
Than actually the rice. So that kind of helped out in my household.
Right.
But every time when I do sushi, I'll do brown rice, and they get mad at me.
Yeah.
So we kind of balance it. Okay, fine. For sushi, we'll do white rice.
Exactly.
But in our normal meals, we do brown rice.
Yeah.
And I think for me, it has more flavor.
It sure does.
And it has more texture.
You get full faster, and then you have
Yes.
there's different colors of it too.
And I just think it's more beautiful.
Yes.
But thank you, Dr. Mondala, for being here, for sharing with us the importance and the science behind, having a more plant-based diet.
Yes.
We're not telling people to get rid of their meat, but making sure that increase or double up on their vegetables and their intakes. Okay. Well, thank you so much for being here. I hope to have you on the show, maybe for a cooking special or something.
Yeah, I'd love to do that. Thank you so much, Larry.
Cảm ơn quý vị khán giả của Little Saigon TV. Hôm nay Julie có thời gian nói chuyện với Dr. Melissa Mondala, Integrative Plant-Based Physician. Hy vọng Julie sẽ tiếp tục có thời gian gặp bác sĩ Mondala thêm nữa. Julie chúc quý vị rất nhiều sức khỏe và may mắn trong tương lai. Cảm ơn quý vị.